Tuesday. I had to think about it. Tuesday afternoon, a little after 1:15, and according to the title that I put up, we're going to talk some more about meditation. Maybe different kinds of meditation. Meditation in general. Um, what I often talk about is primordial sound meditation, which is a ancient Vedic yogic practice, thousands of years old. There is the, let's call it the Vedic ocean of knowledge. And then we have tributary streams coming down. One of those streams was Transcendental Meditation, mantra-based meditation practice. Very valuable. Did wonders for, one, kicking off studies of meditation, clinical studies that have brought so much information to the mainstream public on the value of meditation. Couldn't have done that without the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, especially when he taught the Beatles how to meditate. It just, meditation exploded, yoga exploded from that moment. It's always on a rise in America for a century. But hey, the Beatles. And trying to get my camera a little straighter. And then you have smaller tributaries, one of which is what I teach, which is primordial sound meditation. Very similar. The practice itself is the same as transcendental meditation. Different mantras and how those mantras are derived from. Primordial sound meditation, they correspond to the moment and the place where you were born and the vibratory signature that was in place during that time. There's 108 of them, and they are corresponded by a Vedic mathematical astrology system. Everyone is given their own personal mantra. Now, of course, 108 people are going to have the same mantra. There's 108, probably more, but 108 at least for the use of mantras, primordial sounds. Primordial sound is a silent vibration in nature. So when we say the mantra, we say it to ourselves, and our body and our cells and our molecules and our atoms and our particles all vibrate at that rate. We fall into a deeper silence than if we used, let's say, a made-up mantra. I believe it was Tennyson, the poet Tennyson, who used his own name as a mantra. You can do that, and you can fall into a sort of concentrated state. But it's not the same as meditating with your own personal mantra. Now, of course, there's other ways of meditating. There's concentration, one-pointed concentration. It was a practice that I began with when I did passage meditation from Eknath East Indian teacher, came to America on the Fulbright scholarship and started teaching at Berkeley in the 60s. He taught English literature, actually. And afterwards, he would do talks on the Bhagavad Gita and other mystical texts, not just from India, but from the Christian mystics as well. He had a deep fondness for Christian mysticism. And I actually learned more from reading and listening to him on Christian mysticism than I ever did in a decade of religion classes during my school years when I went to a Catholic school. And it actually helped sort of mend the fence in my stepping away from Christianity. I'm not a Christian. However, I've come to that deep appreciation for my own tradition that I was born into and participated in growing up. And again, that deep mystical tradition that's offered, that is just so overlooked for ever. Because mystical traditions bring the power and responsibility back to the individual person and away from the organization itself. So obviously, an organization is going to frown upon that, doesn't want that, because they want to hold the power. You have to go through them to reach God. A mystical tradition says, no, you're reaching God right now, you just don't realize it. This is how to do it. So obviously, if that message were to get out, and at one time it was out, that's the whole basis of shamanism, it's the whole basis of yoga, it's the whole basis of Buddhism, that you are already now what you seek. If you know that, the seeking ends, but the exploration begins. And seems to me some of my non-duality friends miss that point when they say the seeking's over, I've discovered my true self, or I've discovered the true non-self, the non-dual reality of the universe, which is awesome. But does it leave you room to explore? Explore what's been found. It's what I loved about Douglas Harding and the headless tradition. You point in this direction, and you see, and then you live from where you see. It's an instant meditation. You can do it anytime, anywhere. Highly recommend going to Headless Way website and doing the experiments. Instant realization, and then living from what's realized. Beautiful way to live your life. I think, again, for me, the practice is primordial sound meditation, mantra meditation. Just fits for me. However, it might not fit for everyone. I would love to see metta meditation actually be taught in schools. And metta is I believe it's the Pali, P-A-L-I word. I could be mistaken. Let's go over here to Google. And it is a word for love. Metta. And the practice is repeating slogans. Generally something along the lines of, may I be happy, may I be at peace, may I be forgiven and offer forgiveness. Something along those lines. I'll read a couple when I find them online. I have practiced this on and off through the decades. It's a powerful practice. I think you get benefits even practicing just a little, even mixing it in your regular practice. But if you make it your own regular practice, the concentration deepens, and you literally shine metta. You literally give away loving kindness, and which is another word. Loving kindness meditation is another description for another term for metta meditation. And it's a heat, it's a light that emanates from you, and people are affected by it in your presence. In the mantra tradition, it is, especially through the study of transcendental meditation, something similar has been called the Maharishi effect, obviously named after Maharishi, who claimed that if 10% of a given population of any city, state, nation, 10% of the world, then war would be an impossibility, because everyone else would be in that vortex of the vibratory power of love, of loving kindness. And I think even more so with metta meditation, because that is the sole practice of learning to extend love first to yourself. And that's how it works. You have those slogans, and you start first with yourself, offering yourself love. May I be happy, may I be at peace, may I be forgiven, and may I forgive, or something similar. And from there, you extend it to, I may be out of order in how I phrase this. From yourself, you extend it to someone that you love, because it's easy. Your wife, a parent, a child, a pet, doesn't matter. But it's always easy to extend love for someone that you already have that feeling towards. You already have affection. From there, you would go to a benefactor, someone who has helped you, a teacher, clergyman, again, a parent maybe, someone who plays that role of a teacher in your life, or a friend, a wise friend. Then you extend it towards and you work with each section for as long as you need to, deepening that concentration. From the benefactor, you move to a neutral person, someone you don't even know, someone you see at a coffee shop, someone who serves you coffee, someone who works at the grocery store or the bank, or you see in your neighborhood and you wave to. And you offer them metta, you offer them love and kindness. You work with those slogans until you build up that heat, until you actually feel that love for that person. And it may take some time, not the first meditation session, but you work on it, and you work on it. After that neutral person, you go to the difficult person, someone you don't like, someone that you might even hate, someone who's been unkind to you. And you offer them love, you offer them kindness, you offer them forgiveness and to be forgiven. And you work with that until you literally feel true love for that person. And from there, you can go from that person and extend loving kindness, extend metta to the entire world. It's a powerful meditation. It's often linked to Buddhist practice, although I believe Patanjali describes it in the Yoga Sutras, so it has a long tradition through both the Vedic and the Buddhist tradition. So, breaking slightly away from metta meditation to say hello to my good friend Duncan Walsh, Fitness Motivation. Are you home from your trip, from your vacation? I'm talking a bit about different paths of meditation, concentration. Duncan says that yes, good, and you? I'm doing well, actually. Feeling pretty good. I've had some back issues from doing some stupid things, which should be really not surprising in the least for the people who know me. I tried to squeeze into my car, and I had two cars parked too close to it, so I couldn't really open the door all the way. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to use my yogic power and contort myself and slide in one leg at a time, and just do all kinds of slick moves. And I made it into the car, but my back was a mess afterwards. Stupid thing. And as Duncan says, well, we all do stupid things from time to time. We do, but you know what? At 58, you should do them infrequently. And it occurred to me when I was doing that This was stuff I did, you know, 20 years ago. Can I do this? Can I fit under this? Can I jump over this? Can I run faster than this? And I got away with it. You know, now I can still do stuff, but I can't get away with the stuff that I used to. Duncan says getting in and out of cars should carry a national health warning. I agree. It's amazing. You know, this was yesterday. I did 111 Navy SEALs. I did 2 yoga sessions. I walked, I believe, about 5 miles. Walked and ran 5 miles. Spread through the day. What else did I do? I did a Qigong practice, all kinds of stuff. And yet, I hurt myself getting into a car. Duncan says his brother has done something similar, getting into a car. Yeah, I've actually hurt my back sitting down to write. I sat and I slumped at a certain angle, and the back seized up. You just never know. You know, you survive a 20-minute burpee set, and then you hurt your back sitting in a chair to sit down and write. Duncan says, trouble is it's a bend and twist, which is the worst movement for your back, and you're cold. That's true. This is true. And you know what? One of the tenets in Hatha Yoga is actually working the back through those angles. You have forward bend, you have backwards bend, you have side bends, and you have twist. Do that twice a day. Twisting my body is in all kinds of things. Upside down on my shoulders, rolling my feet over my head. I'm doing my headstands, but I'm using the cheater bench that I mentioned. Perfectly fine. Tell me to get into a car, and all bets are off. You know, I used to see T-shirts. Getting old ain't for sissies, and it was always funny, but it's absolutely true. Duncan says, in terms of leaning forward and then to the side, usually puts the worst stresses on there. Yeah, and of course, you know, it doesn't help being pre-fatigued from the workouts. I'm not saying the workouts were detrimental. As a matter of fact, that's probably what keeps me upright. But you're going to be fatigued, so it takes a little less of a, one moment when you're just not as mindful as you should be, and something happens. There was also a particular yoga pose that seemed to be stressing my back more than it was helping, so I've eliminated that. Haven't found a replacement yet, but that sort of act probably as a precursor for anything. It's amazing how much better I feel after a burpee session. Duncan says the best is to sort of crawl into the car, then easier to turn around, I find. You know what? That's what Mocha suggested. And of course, I looked at it and I immediately thought, I can do that. I can crawl in that tiny little space. When I was in my 20s, I did an outward bound expedition, 23 days, and for 2 days and a night we spelunked. We explored a cave, and I absolutely loved crawling through those tight spots, exploring things that you didn't think you'd be able to get through, edging your way. perfectly fine. Things I did in my 20s amaze me to think about now. Although, as I mentioned before, I didn't run my first 100-mile race until I was 50. After three failures. And I suspect that I will probably run another 100-mile race in my 60s. I suspect that I will run one. I'm not saying I suspect that I will finish one, but we'll see. I have a friend who has done 100 in his 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and now 70s. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's important to, either way, no matter what you do, whether you're competitive or not, it is important to stay fit and keep moving. Stay in motion. Yoga keeps you fit and limber. I'm convinced the only two things you ever did, fitness-wise, was walk and yoga. You'd be fine for the duration, for the rest of your life. If you wanted to throw in some running, fine. If you wanted to throw in, although running, especially in the thick shoes we have now, we think it's masking, we think it's helping the problem. What it's doing is actually masking the problems, masking the issues. So you're still getting that impact on the spine. It makes me wonder, in those big thick shoes, how long people are going to be able to keep doing what they do. I could be wrong about it. Things like that, I'm always happy to be wrong about it, because it means you're safe. It means you get to keep doing what you love to do. So walking with some running, yoga, and yoga with maybe some body weight, some push-ups, some higher rep squats. Even throw in some dumbbells maybe. Bands, even better. Tom Brady quit weightlifting. Probably, I believe, the last maybe 10 years of his career, and just trained with bands. As he said, I'm strong enough to throw the ball. And what I need now is resiliency and pliability to be able to take a hit and get back up and not be stiff, not be sore, not be, imbalanced through any type of training. It certainly worked for him. So I keep adding things on. Running, walking, yoga, along with some body weight training or dumbbell routine. Maybe bodybuilding routine in your older years, I think, is actually probably a good idea. Holding on to some lean muscle. Always lean out. We always leave out that lean muscle part, and we think you need to hold on to some size as we age, but it has to be the right kind of size and not too much, because even carrying around too much muscle when you're older puts some strain on the heart and some strain on the system, and it's just not necessary. You need the right amount of muscle as we age. So I'm going to circle back to loving kindness meditation, and then we're going to end it for the day. The importance of doing some sort of meditation, not just for you, but for everyone else, for the world. What you do, sitting down, meditating, will affect your family, will affect your neighborhood, will affect your county, your state, your country, and the world. Don't doubt it for a second, because every individual is part of the whole organization. John Donne, do not ask for whom the bell tolls for thee, where he talks about if even one person perishes, he is lesser. If one clod of dirt falls into the ocean of Europe, Europe itself is less. Don't doubt your importance. Duncan says, leading on from your comments about treating others, I have sort of a question for you, which I will immediately give the answer to on this theme. Duncan always has the some of the most insightful questions that I get. Duncan says, what is the difference between heaven and hell? And my answer would be perspective. There's actually a story. I'm not sure if I would remember the exact telling, so I might leave it off, where heaven and hell being basically the same place, but the perspective of it making all the difference. Duncan is actually telling the story that I had in mind. In both places, all the people sit around a huge well containing everything you need for nutrition and happiness. Each person has a long spoon attached to the arms, so they can reach down into the well to get the sustenance. In hell, the people feel the pain of hunger because the spoons are so long, they cannot get the food into their own mouths. In heaven, everyone feeds each other. And to me, the best definition of heaven ever, right there. I always go back to, and I've quoted it very often here in these talks, Saint Catherine of Siena and her all the way to heaven is heaven. So if you miss right here, right now, if you miss these steps, you're missing heaven. If you are not feeding your neighbor, using Duncan's analogy, you're missing heaven. If you're constantly trying to only feed yourself, get mine before anyone else gets it, you're in hell. And there you remain until you learn to feed others. And there's always someone who's willing to demonstrate how to do so. Gandhi, Martin Luther King, teachings of Jesus, the teachings of Buddha. We have the instructions. We know exactly what to do. Jesus lays it out in Sermon of the Mount. Every single teaching of Buddha is an instruction. Do this. It's laid out in the 8 limbs of yoga. It starts out with ethical practice. I always look at books in the bookstore. Yoga for runners, yoga for weightlifters, yoga for bodybuilders. It's not yoga. It's using yoga postures, yoga asanas to stretch, which is a great stretch, a great workout, great fitness modality, but it's not yoga. Yoga contains the ethical, self-ethical practices that we do, observances that we do, then the asanas, then the breath work, then meditation. It used to be you started with one, just the ethics, and you worked your way up. Once you mastered each of those 5 ethics, you went on to the 5 observances, then you went on to the physical practice, and then breath work. Now, and I think especially now, we can do the whole gambit. We can practice yoga from its start to its finish, but we need to practice. And again, it's instructions on how to be in heaven right now. all the way to heaven is heaven. So I'm at 30 minutes, and I've been doing my best to keep myself around that 30-minute mark. So I'm going to leave off here. Duncan, thank you for joining in. Thank you for the wonderful contribution, as well as thank you. Appreciate it. Next time, I tried to sneak my way into a too tight situation involving my car and bad parking. I'm going to think of this conversation and remind myself not to do so. There's other and better challenges. I'd rather have the challenge of 112 Navy SEALs than to try to sneak my way into a tight situation in a parking lot. Fortunately, it was a parking lot in front of my house, and only Mocha and our dog Misty was there to see what happened. So, all right, guys. So, gonna end it off today. Again, Duncan, thank you. Anyone has questions about meditation, about breath work or yoga, creativity, any of this stuff we talk about, just leave a comment. Reach out, let me know. Always happy to devote an entire live session to any subject at hand that you hear me talking about that you might want me to talk more about. Or I could talk about whatever. I don't even need to know anything to talk about it. I can just come here and make stuff up for you guys. I'm willing to do so. You just let me know what you want me to make something up about. And with that, it's definitely time to say goodbye. Thanks again, guys. Take care.